What's up, y'all? It's Alxzandria, and you are watching part 1 of my Untold interview.
I have Alexandria. I'm saying that right?
Yes, Alxzandria.
And where the X coming at?
So it's ALX capital ZANDRIA. Yeah, it's unique.
I like that. And that's your real name in there?
Yes, that's actually my last name, but I use it as a stage name.
Okay. What's your first name?
I don't tell nobody.
What's your age?
Nah, I don't tell nobody.
There we go.
None of that.
So Alexandria, where you from?
I'm from Philadelphia, PA. I was born in North, raised in West, went to school in South, and now I'm back up North. So
Okay.
Philly girl all day.
Yeah, South Philly. I always tell people South Philly is one of my favorite areas of Philadelphia because it's a world within its own.
Yeah.
The people are unique, things like that.
Yeah.
And you say you lived in West.
Yeah, I grew up in West Philly, near Cobb's Creek.
Okay, so how was your childhood?
Childhood. I would say it was very hard. It definitely could have been worse, but it was challenging, mainly because I was born into foster care.
Okay.
So that was kind of like the beginning of how my life started.
Okay.
And so basically the very first family that the family I was born into, there was about 16 children. So I have a whole bunch of brothers and sisters. And out of 16, there's 12 of us living.
Right.
So out of the 12, it was, I'm child number 11. And when I was a year old, my brothers and sisters and I, we were all separated and, split up into separate homes. So I really didn't get a chance to know my mother and my father and my brothers and sisters. And then a year after I was taken from them, my dad died. So it was just back to back to back crazy stuff happening. The very first foster home I went into actually starved me and I almost lost my life.
Wow.
Yeah. But by the grace of God, an aunt that I used to visit during that time, because we used to have something called visitations every other quarter, and I would see my biological mom and my brothers and sisters, just little visitations.
Right.
During those visitations, my aunt noticed that I was losing weight, and my skin color was changing, and she just was worried about me. So she, let DHS know, y'all need to kind of look into the situation. And I'm glad they did when they did, because when they found me, literally my skin was blue. I was dying.
And this all took place in foster care?
Yup, in the very first foster home.
16 kids in there. How was that environment for you?
So the 16 kids is actually my biological family.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't grow up with them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I got taken away from my biological family, and me and my 16 brothers and sisters, we were all split up. So the first foster home I went into, I was by myself. It was just me. And it was a woman and her 16-year-old daughter. And they basically just didn't feed me. They basically neglected my nourishment needs, and it almost cost me my life, so.
Wow, now going through that experience, I'm sorry you went through that. Going through that experience at that age, what's going through your mind at that time? Before you answer that, why were you in foster care?
Basically, my family was poverty-stricken. There were some mental illness problems, just a bunch of different things going on, and it just wasn't a good environment for my brothers and sisters and I.
Okay.
There were people who put anonymous welfare checks, hey, check on those kids. We don't know if that's the best environment for them. So I guess after DHS came out to the house one too many times, they just took us, and we all just got split up. I went one way, she went that way, everybody went separate ways. But like I said, we did visit each other at the Northeast Treatment Center at least 3 times a year. And that's when they noticed, Alex isn't developing, she's not growing. I was skin and bones. Every time they saw me, I was getting smaller. And kids, they play, they run around, and I wasn't doing none of that. I was very delayed, I wasn't talking yet. Just certain areas that I should have been advanced, I just wasn't. So that's when they came out, took me from the first home, put me in this like nursery for sick children and nursed me back to health. And you know what? It was so interesting because one of the nurses in that hospital was married to my biological uncle.
Wow.
Like, what are the odds, right?
Right.
And when she saw the name come in, like she saw the last name, she was like, that's my niece. So, you know, I got the best care in that nursery. And because I was her niece, they took extra care of me. And they did nurse me back to health. I was diagnosed failure to thrive as a result, you know, of being starved. And also I was diagnosed BDD, which was behavior deficit disorder. So even like just at that young age, 2, 3 we're talking, I had a lot going on. And I had TSS workers with me, social workers with me. I had to see a psychiatrist. Like, I just remember when I was little, I looked at all of those people. I used to call them big people about big things because it was just always so many people around me. Like, I couldn't go to school without a TSS worker with me. And it was embarrassing because I would look and I noticed like none of my classmates had nobody with them. So I'm like, is something wrong with me? You know, like it starts, you know, I'm getting emotional a little bit, but it just starts making you feel like, what's wrong, you know? But longer story short, eventually I did, you know, go into a second home. I got adopted when I was almost 10, and all of that kind of went away. You know, I didn't have any more TSS workers or anything like that. My last name changed to Alxzandria. That's where the stage name come from.
Okay.
You know, some sense of normalcy. But yeah, those first 6 years were...
It was a lot.
It was interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot. And you know, how was you and your biological mom relationship?
Well,
at that time, I'm sorry.
So since I was so young and not really, I guess, aware of what was going on, like I knew I was a foster child and I knew I didn't live with my family. But when you're that young, you don't understand fully like what that means. But I'll never forget the day one of the TSS workers, she pulled me, we were in the car and I was in her back seat and she pulled to the side of the road and she's like, I have to tell you something. And I'm like, what? She's like, basically you won't be able to see your birth mom anymore. And I have to be honest, those visitations were something I looked forward to. Even at that young age, even with not understanding the situation, I looked forward to that time. So when she said you're not gonna see your birth mom anymore, I just started flipping out. I started kicking the back of her chair like I was on some other type time. But yeah, after that, I didn't see her again. I didn't see her again until I was a grown woman.
Your mom?
My mother, yeah.
At that time, was you a little close to your mom?
Only during the visitations. That was it. That was the only time I got to see her. And when they stopped that was the end.
How was the visitations?
Fun. It was fun. I mean, the first couple years, it wasn't cool because like I told you, I was in that foster home that starved me. So I was, you know, sick at that time. But once I was better, I was running around with my siblings. We was having a time. And I looked forward to it because again, I wasn't living with them. You know, we were all separated. So we all looked forward to that time to spend together, play with toys, sit on our birth mom's lap. Like it was a big deal. And for that to be taken from me, I just remember I was really hurt, you know, but it's okay.
When you were at the first family house and you wasn't properly getting fed and just overall getting treated right, at that age, did you feel like you were alone?
To be honest, I don't know how I felt because I don't remember. I was so young. I might have tuned a lot of it out, and plus two, just being so young, I can't remember that far back, but I will say it has impacted my life. Even if I don't remember it, the effects of it are still there, you know?
Right. When did she find out how you was being treated at the first family house?
Yeah, so my biological aunt, she actually told my birth mother, the social worker, she told them like, every time my niece come to these visits, she ain't looking right. And at first, it was like, nah, she's good, you know, some babies. And she's like, nah, something ain't right. So finally, after she put enough like pressure on the situation, that's when they looked into it. And that's when they found, basically, if they didn't come when they did, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Right.
That's just the reality.
Right. So it was like a wraparound person that come during school hours while you're in school?
Yeah, they would come with me to school, to a friend's house, to the library. Like
Right.
I couldn't do nothing, and that's kind of annoying. You
Right,
know,
right.
I had some nice ones though. Like some were really nice. They take me to go get ice cream, but then you had others that were kind of just. You could tell they didn't like their job.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And you felt that. People don't think that kids be catching the energy, but even at that young age, I caught that vibe. Like you don't really like doing this. You don't care about these foster kids. You just, just here taking up space.